Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan Medal video. So in this video we are going to take a look at the new Extreme Z area for the Planet Namek Saga free-to-play units. So this Extreme Z area is obviously the brand new one. It's come out just for all of the free-to-play units that we received from all of the events. You'll see here that it only unlocks once you have completed the Legend of the Super Saiyan event, the Emperor's Intentions event, and the Fated History the Saiyan in a Rebellion event. So you have to make sure that you complete these 3 events on all difficulties every single stage before this EZA will open up to you. So please make sure that you guys do that. And yeah, obviously we will need the 3 units from there. So you're going to need the Zarbon and Dodoria, the Goku and the Krillin Vegeta exchange unit. You'll see that there are 3 stages for this event. We have stage 1 for Goku, stage 2 for Zarbon and Dodoria, and stage 3 for Vegeta and Krillin. And the character list to use here is pretty small. The list of characters is very tiny. A lot of them are also general pool summon characters, so you're going to need to be careful about which units you use. Obviously, there are 3 stages and 2 difficulties of each stage, so that makes for 6 stones in total. And as always, we receive bronze medals on the first difficulty from the left, silver on the right, and from the second difficulty gold on the left and rainbow on the right. Goku and Zarbon and Dodoria and all of them get some pretty good EZAs here. Goku gets a pretty decent upgrade, obviously gaining some additional attack and defense buffs. He also gains additional attack and defense per turn, along with gaining the ability to raise his attack and defense on his attack for 3 turns. So he becomes a lot better. Obviously he needs quite a few buffs due to his low stats, but he looks like he's going to become a very reliable unit. Plus that healing ability will come in handy. Then we get Zarbon and Dodoria. They are attack and defense of 100% plus an additional attack and defense of 10% with each attack performed. That's attacks, not super attacks. They also gain 70% attack and defense when fighting alongside Frieza, and of course they also provide a buff to the Space Traveling Warriors category and are attacks effective against all types against Planet Namek Saga units. I definitely believe that they are looking to shape up to be a very good unit, but are probably better in long form events, and you're going to want to link them up with a Frieza of some kind. Then we get the Krillin and the Vegeta unit. They are attack and defense of 80% plus an additional attack and defense of 40% when performing a super attack. They now have a high chance of evasion, which is super duper helpful, and they raise their defense after every successful evasion. So they get a lot better obviously as a unit. And Vegeta himself, when Krillin exchanges into Vegeta, becomes really quite solid. He recovers 30% HP once, has attack and defense of 120% and an additional attack and defense of 80% when performing a super attack. He also launches an additional attack that has a medium chance of becoming a super attack, and he gains the ability to survive KOs when there's a Planet Namek Saga unit on the rotation. He also raises his attack and defense permanently. So all of them got some pretty good EZAs, which are going to be very helpful for the numerous events. Remember, you can pick up these guys from these events in the story section, the Saiyan in Rebellion, the Legendary Super Saiyan, and the Emperor's Intentions. Please remember that you're going to want to farm 19 copies of them. You're going to need 1 base copy that is at 10 SA and has its hidden potential unlocked, and you're going to need a second copy that is 5 SA. You're also going to need to Dokkan Awaken both copies, so you're going to need to farm medals for both of those. If you need any more assistance with that, you can look in my description and you will find the links to those videos. In terms of this first stage against Goku, we are going to select our team. It's best to avoid any of the int units if you can, and try and bring as many of the strength units as possible. Obviously, if you do not have the ability to avoid the int units, you are going to have a little bit more of a problem, but you should be fine. You'll see here that this is pretty much an entire team made up of free-to-play units, and the Prime Battle Frieza after his EZA is really going to help us out here. In terms of difficulties, these stages are not too hard. I didn't find them too difficult at all. They do hit quite hard on your type disadvantage units, so just be aware of that. And if you can, obviously you want to try and put some orbs in your units as best you can. As always, I don't suggest alternating these stages. I always suggest that you just farm the first unit out entirely and then work on the remaining units as best as you can. That's really going to help you guys out, and then you're going to be able to, just see how those units go. But that's really going to improve them and improve your team, because they increase their leader skills, and they also obviously raise their own passives and stats, so that's just going to help you from avoiding defeat. The Krillin and Vegeta unit are the friend lead for every single stage, so yeah, that's really your only option. If you do not have Prime Battle Frieza, then Krillin and Vegeta are going to be your second best lead option, but I do suggest picking up all of these free-to-play units as you need them anyway, and they're really going to help you out with completing this. Obviously, in tandem with these events is the co-op campaign. The co-op campaign requires you to do Extreme Z area stage levels, and you need to complete 30 attempts of the Planet Namek Saga Extreme Z area stages. And that will give you some bonus rewards, which is obviously very exciting. So just keep that in mind while you are doing these stages. You are also completing the co-op campaign, which should help you out quite a bit. The next difficulty, or the next stage I should say, is against Zarbon and Dodoria. Obviously we want to max as many into units as possible, and we want to drop the AGL Piccolo if we can from our team. That's really going to help you out and make the stage go a little bit faster. Ideally you want to start with Goku, as he's probably the weakest of the three units. Then I think you could actually move to Krillin and Vegeta, and then I think after that you can take on Dodoria and Zarbon. I think that's actually the best order to take the stage on in, because not only will that be the fastest, because Goku being buffed up as the weakest will remove a lot of your threat chances, and will also help you speed up the Krillin and Vegeta fight, but also Zarbon and Dodoria will take a lot faster, because obviously Krillin and Vegeta are weak to Krillin and Vegeta are N-type, which means Dodoria, which means Zarbon and Dodoria are going to be type disadvantage to them, which is really going to help you out. So yeah, pretty straightforward really in terms of difficulty. As you can see, we haven't had too many problems here with any of these stages, and we're just going to move directly into the next one. So just remember that you obviously want to farm 15 bronze medals and 42 silver medals. That's going to require you to complete each stage 3 times on each side, and as always I suggest that you alternate your sides, because you do have a chance at getting question marks, and those question marks are obviously a bonus chance at getting medals. If you do get a question mark and you've only been focusing on one side, you may get a question mark, and that question mark will actually pretty much just give you extra medals that you can't use, and that's just not really helpful. So I don't suggest focusing on one type of medal at a time. I definitely suggest that you guys make sure that you pick up alternating types of medals. That's really going to help you out. Otherwise, other than that, in terms of the units, everything is pretty straightforward here. If you get the Prime Battle Frieza, your life's going to be a lot easier. Not only is he a great lead for the category, because he's a 90% extreme and 70% super lead, but he is also able to do a lot of damage and pretty much one-shot every single stage of the event, like you just saw here. But obviously Prime Battle Frieza needs his EZA, so if you haven't done that, he's not the best option, so rather just use the Krillin and Vegeta unit as your lead, and then focus on them and use them as your lead. So maybe start with stage 3 if you are using them as your lead, because raising their leader skill is going to be your biggest advantage. Then in terms of missions, we have the pretty straightforward missions, completed 1 time, 5 times and 10 times, and you get a couple bits of Zenny back, but more importantly you get a stone for each stage, so that's really going to help you out, and it's a nice little bonus. So we're going to skip ahead in time. Obviously I have farmed my 15 bronze medals and my 42 silver medals, and then you're going to take on the stages again. I do suggest you upgrade your characters as you go along, because the extra stats and the passive upgrades are going to make everything go smoother. Obviously, we will keep the same team builds and keep the same rulings that we followed from the first attempts. An important thing to take note of as well is that all of the units that you fight, Krillin and Vegeta, Goku and Dodoria and Zarbon, not Darbon, Dodoria and Zarbon, are all not immune, so they can all be stunned, they can all be sealed on both difficulties, which is somewhat helpful. They can have their attack lowered, their defense lowered, so that is just something to take note of. It is possible to do, so that will help you out as well. As always, I suggest starting with Goku if you have Prime Battle Frieza. If you have Prime Battle Frieza, if you don't have Prime Battle Frieza, then I suggest that you start with Vegeta and Krillin, as they're going to be your lead. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Remember on this stage that your gold medals drop on the left hand side and your rainbow medals drop on the right hand side. You will need to do it 3 times on each side, but you should get a question mark, same as the first difficulty, and you should be able to do it in 5 times. Obviously you need to go 3 on each side, and again I suggest alternating. I don't ever suggest focusing on a single type of medal. So yeah, obviously we'll just quickly skim through these stages and finish them up so you can get an idea of the difficulty. But you can see we're doing the entire event with only free-to-play units. If you have units like Nail or the General Pool Piccolo or the General Pool Third Form Frieza, you are welcome to use them. They will definitely help you out in terms of the stage and make things go a little bit faster, but they're not necessary to complete the stage. So that's just something that you can do as an added bonus, but you don't need them to complete this event. So we'll just dive straight into the next one. Again, you're going to want to just make sure that you don't have the AGL Piccolo, and that's realistically going to be your best bet. And then you want to make sure you have as many int units as possible. And like I said, putting orbs into your units is going to help you out, because obviously putting orbs in means they're going to do more damage and they're going to take less damage. Orbs, especially for free-to-play units, can contribute to something like 30% of their defense. So obviously orbs do help, but for new players and for players who don't plan on using them, they might not necessarily be worth the investment. So just keep that in mind. Alternatively, you can put gear on them. Gear will help out and obviously will make things go a little bit faster, and you can use up some of your lower tier gear. Even just giving yourself some extra health or things like that should help you out, and you shouldn't really have too many problems. So yeah, realistically that should be about it. Obviously Dodoria and Zarbon aren't too hard, because we do have quite a few int options. The final form free-to-play Frieza, the Piccolo and the Vegeta, the Krillin and the Vegeta, and of course the friend Krillin and the Vegeta. We have 3 int units to use, which is obviously quite helpful. So that is the second stage completed, and we'll move on to the third and final stage. As you can see, these aren't too challenging, but we have been upgrading our units. We do have orbs in our units, so it will be a little bit more challenging if you haven't done those steps. If you're just trying to complete them and do it first without doing these preparation steps, you are going to have a harder time. But of course it is still doable, especially if you have the Prime Battle Frieza, who, like I said, can pretty much one-shot the event, so that is always helpful. We'll see here, obviously we are fighting the int units. We want to drop Dodoria and Zarbon from our team, and we want to try and bring in pretty much anyone else. We just don't want to have that tech type unit in there, where they have the ability to take damage. But again, they do lower attack and defense, which can help out, because remember, these units can be attack lowered and defense lowered, so you do have some additional options there. But realistically, you shouldn't have too many issues. Like I say, finish the Goku first, finish the Zarbon and the Dodoria, or finish the Krillin and the Vegeta. I don't know why I keep saying Piccolo. finish the Krillin and the Vegeta, and obviously as long as you finish whatever unit you're working on before you take on the next stage, there'll be a big help in finishing that stage. So obviously that will help out, and that'll really increase the amount of damage that they do. You can see here the physical units, especially the second form Frieza, also help out with clearing the stage, because obviously having type advantage really helps out. Even though physical form Frieza still takes some damage, he does a lot of damage back to them, so definitely well worth it, and you need him for a couple Prime Battle EZAs anyway. So that's realistically it for all of the stages. And then what we'll do is we'll just jetson back in when I have completed all of the metal farming, and then we'll quickly go over the units, and then we'll call it a day. So realistically a nice event, nice EZAs for 3 free-to-play units. And first we'll take a look at the missions. So we completed all the missions. We did each stage 10 times. You can see we get a little bit of Zenny back, but 3 stones, which is really nice. And then from there we can move on to the units. So in terms of the units, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to want to make sure that you have one unit that is 10 out of 10 SA and has all 4 hidden potential paths unlocked. And then you're going to want to have a second unit, you can see here all those level 1 units, that is 5 SA, so that you can obviously take those units and then train them into your main units. You can see here we're finally awakening Goku. And then we're going to raise his SA by using our second copy of Goku that we have at 5 SA. We're going to awaken all of them first. You can just see here that we're getting them all to level 140. We're going to train them. And then what we do is we use the second unit to get them to 15 SA. And the reason that works is because you have 10 SA, and then you add in the second unit, which is at 5 SA, and then you pretty much have 15 SA. I know it's pretty rocket science. So that's realistically it. Nothing too crazy in terms of anything else. The easiest way is just to go train the unit now. Remember to remove your training battleground, because obviously you're not gaining XP, you just want to raise the SA. And you'll see Goku goes from 10 SA to 15 SA, and that's his new max. So really good there. And we'll do that for all the units, and then you've saved yourself some Kais. So yeah, really good. Obviously it changes the effects of a lot of their SAs as well, and overall just a nice easy grind to do. We've obviously been preparing for it the entire way, or you should have, and that's really going to help you out if you have followed my videos, and of course you now have all of them maxed. And we can just see there, if we go to Goku, we'll just open them up. Check his details, and you'll see there that his SA effect has changed, and his passive has changed, and everything's pretty much done. So that's pretty much it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. In terms of builds, Goku's going to be primarily crit, Vegeta and Krillin are going to be primarily crit, and then of course the Dodoria and Zarbon are probably also going to be mainly crit, but with a mixture of additionals. For most of these guys, you're going to want to go more crit heavy, but you can balance it out, I think, for Vegeta and Krillin as well. It just depends on what situation you're going to be using them in. But I think that's everything from my side. I think that's a full rundown of the event, and I don't really think there's anything left. Like I said, the last real thing to mention is pretty much just the co-op campaign, and remember you also get some Zenny back. That's going to be it from me. Let me know in the comments how you're finding the units, and as always, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, bye!